The hotel lobby glowed under the soft amber light of chandeliers, a haven of luxury where the clink of champagne glasses and murmured conversations created a facade of serenity. But beneath the polished surface, a quiet menace stirred. Keanu Reeves, dressed in a simple black jacket and jeans, sat in a corner armchair, his eyes scanning the room with the instinct of someone who'd seen the world's shadows. He wasn't here for the glamour. He was passing through, a traveler seeking a moment's rest after weeks on the road. His motorcycle, parked in the hotel's underground garage, was his only companion on this journey, a pilgrimage of sorts, chasing peace in a world that rarely offered it. But trouble, as it often did, found him. Across the lobby, a young man in a rumpled suit stood near the concierge desk, his shoulders hunched, his face pale. He clutched a leather wallet, his fingers trembling as two men in ill-fitting hotel uniforms loomed over him. Their voices were low, but their intent was clear, predatory. Keanu's gaze sharpened. The young man, barely in his 20s, looked like a trapped animal, his eyes darting for an escape that didn't exist. The men's word drifted faintly. Security fee, room service surcharge, non-negotiable. The guest stammered, trying to protest, but the men's presence was suffocating, their smiles sharp as knives. Keanu noticed the way they positioned themselves, one blocking the path to the elevators, the other crowding the guest's personal space. It was a practiced maneuver designed to intimidate. Keanu set his coffee down, the ceramic cup clicking softly against the saucer. He'd seen this before. Scammers preying on the vulnerable, exploiting trust in places meant to feel safe. The hotel, a five-star sanctuary in the heart of the city, was supposed to be a refuge. But these men were turning it into a trap. Keanu's jaw tightened. He didn't need a weapon or a plan. He had something better, an unshakable calm and a voice that could cut through chaos. His years of training, for roles, for life, had taught him how to read people, how to stand his ground without escalating. And his heart, always tuned to the underdog, wouldn't let him walk away. He rose from his chair, moving with the quiet grace of a man who knew how to command a room, without raising his voice. The lobby's hum continued, oblivious to the drama unfolding. Guests sipped cocktails, bellhops pushed luggage carts, and the pianist played a gentle melody, oblivious to the storm brewing in the corner. But for Keanu, the world narrowed to the young man and the two predators circling him. "Excuse me," Keanu said, his voice low but firm, stepping into the trio's orbit. The two scammers froze, their heads snapping toward him. The guest's eyes widened, a flicker of hope breaking through his fear. Keanu's presence was magnetic, not because of his fame, though the men clearly recognized him, their eyes flickering with unease, but because of the weight behind his gaze. It was the look of someone who'd faced worse than them, and walked away unbroken. "Can I help you gentlemen with something?" Keanu asked, his tone polite but laced with an edge that made the air feel heavier. He stood close enough to be a threat, but his hands remained relaxed at his sides, his posture open. It was a masterclass in control, non-threatening, yet utterly unyielding. The taller of the two scammers, a man with slick-back hair and a cheap gold watch, recovered first. He forced a smile, his eyes darting to his partner, a stocky man with a crooked tie. "Just a private matter, sir," the tall one said, his voice oily. "Hotel business. Nothing to concern you." Keanu tilted his head slightly, his dark eyes locking onto the man's. "Doesn't look private," he said. "Looks like you're making my friend here uncomfortable." He nodded toward the young guest, who swallowed hard, clutching his wallet tighter. The stocky scammer stepped forward, puffing out his chest. "This ain't your business, pal," he growled, his accent rougher than his partner's. "Walk away." Keanu didn't flinch. He didn't need to. His presence was enough, a quiet storm that made the room feel smaller. "Here's the thing," he said, his voice steady, each word deliberate. "I don't like bullies, and I really don't like people who prey on folks just trying to get by. So how about you explain why this man owes you money for services he didn't ask for?" The tall scammer laughed, but it was forced, a crack in his facade. "It's standard policy," he said, gesturing vaguely toward the concierge desk. "Security fees, room service surcharges." He signed for it when he checked in. Keanu's eyes flicked to the young guest. "Did you sign anything?" he asked. The young man shook his head, his voice barely a whisper, No, I didn't order anything. They just showed up at my room, said I had to pay or I couldn't leave. Keanu's gaze returned to the scammers, and now there was a glint of steel in it. Sounds like extortion, he said, the word landing like a gavel. Not a good look for a place like this. The stocky man bristled, his hand twitching as if he might grab Keanu. But something in Keanu's stance, calm, centered, ready, made him hesitate. The tall scammer, sensing the situation slipping, tried to pivot. "Look, no need for trouble," he said, raising his hands. "Maybe there's a misunderstanding. We'll waive the fees. All right? No harm done." Keanu didn't move. "You're not waiving anything," he said. "You're leaving. Now." The lobby was starting to notice. A few guests glanced over, curious. The concierge, a nervous woman behind the desk, hovered, unsure whether to intervene. Keanu's voice never rose, but it carried a finality that left no room for argument. The scammers exchanged a glance, their bravado crumbling under the weight of his stare. "You don't know who you're messing with," the stocky one muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. He took a step back, his partner already edging toward the exit. Keanu's lips curved into the faintest of smiles, not amusement but certainty. "I know exactly who I'm messing with," he said. "And you're not it." The tall scammer grabbed his partner's arm, muttering something about not worth it. They turned and hurried toward the revolving doors, their fake uniforms creasing as they moved. The lobby exhaled, the tension dissipating like smoke. The young guest sagged against the desk, relief washing over him. Keanu turned to him, his expression softening. "You okay?" he asked. The young man nodded, still shaken. "Yeah, thank you. I didn't know what to do. They wouldn't let me go." Keanu placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture both grounding and kind. "You're all right now," he said. "Get some rest, and maybe check your bill before you leave." He gave a small, reassuring smile, then turned to the concierge, who was wringing her hands. "Call your manager," Keanu said, his tone gentle but firm. "You've got a problem here." The concierge nodded quickly, already reaching for the phone. But Keanu wasn't done. He'd seen the signs, the scammers' confidence, their familiarity with the hotel's layout. This wasn't a one-off. They were part of something bigger, a network exploiting the hotel's reputation to fleece guests. He couldn't walk away without digging deeper. He stepped toward the concierge desk, his voice low. "How long has this been going on?" he asked. The concierge, a woman named Maria with a name tag pinned crookedly to her blazer, hesitated. I don't know what you mean, sir," she said, but her eyes betrayed her. She knew something. Keanu leaned in slightly, his presence calming rather than threatening. "Maria," he said, reading her name tag, "I'm not here to cause trouble, but those men weren't working alone. If you know something, now's the time to say it." Maria's hands trembled as she glanced around the lobby, ensuring no one was listening. "It's not just them," she whispered. "There's a group. They've been doing this for months. They target new guests, especially ones who look out of place. They bribe some of the staff to look the other way. I didn't want to get involved, but I need this job." Keanu's expression didn't change, but his mind was racing. A scam ring operating out of a high-end hotel wasn't just bold. It was organized. He nodded, encouraging her to continue. "They are led by someone called Vincent," Maria said, her voice barely audible. "He's not here often, but is dangerous. He's got connections, security, management, even the police. They make thousands a night, and no one stops them." Keanu absorbed the information, his calm exterior masking the fire within. He'd dealt with men like Vincent before, parasites who thrived on fear and corruption. "Where do I find him?" he asked. Maria's eyes widened. "You can't. He's not someone you mess with. Please, just let it go." Keanu's gaze softened, but his resolve didn't waver. "I'm not letting it go," he said, "but I'll handle it. You don't have to be afraid." He turned to the young guest, who was still standing nearby, listening in stunned silence. "What's your name?" Keanu asked. "Elliot," the young man replied, his voice steadier now. "Elliot, go to your room. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone you don't know. I'll make sure this gets sorted." Elliot nodded, gratitude etched on his face. "Thank you. I don't even know how to." "You don't have to," Keanu said, cutting him off gently. "Just stay safe." As Elliot headed to the elevators, Keanu turned back to Maria. "Tell me where Vincent operates," he said, his tone leaving no room for evasion. Maria hesitated, then scribbled an address on a piece of hotel stationery. "It's a bar, downtown. He's there most nights, but please be careful." Keanu took the paper, tucking it into his jacket. "I will," he said, though careful wasn't the word he'd use. He was done with careful. The city's pulse thrummed as Keanu stepped out of the hotel, the night air cool against his skin. He straddled his motorcycle, the engine roaring to life with a growl that matched his mood. The address Maria gave him was in a gritty part of town, far from the hotel's polished facade. As he rode, the lights of the city blurred into streaks of gold and neon, his mind focused on what lay ahead. The bar was a dive, its neon sign flickering above a door that looked like it hadn't been cleaned in years. Keanu parked his bike and walked inside, his presence drawing glances from the patrons, mostly rough types who sized him up and quickly looked away. He didn't belong here, but he didn't care. He wasn't here to blend in. Vincent was easy to spot. He sat at a corner booth, a man in his 40s with a tailored suit and a predator's smile. 2 bodyguards flanked him, their bulk barely contained by their jackets. Keanu approached, his steps measured, his eyes locked on Vincent. "Evening," Keanu said, stopping at the edge of the booth. The bodyguards tensed, but Vincent raised a hand, signaling them to stand down. Well, Vincent said, his voice smooth as silk. "Keanu Reeves. To what do I owe the pleasure?" Keanu didn't sit. He stood, his hands loose at his sides, his gaze unwavering. "Your operation at the hotel," he said. "It's over." Vincent's smile didn't falter, but his eyes narrowed. "Bold words," he said, "but you're out of your depth. Walk away, and I'll pretend this didn't happen." Keanu's voice was calm, but it carried the weight of a promise. "I don't walk away," he said. "You're going to shut it down, or I'll shut it down for you." The bodyguard shifted, ready to move, but Vincent laughed, a cold, calculated sound. "You're a movie star, not a hero," he said. "You think you can scare me?" Keanu's lips twitched, not quite a smile. "I don't need to scare you," he said. "I just need you to listen. Your men are gone. The hotel's on to you. And I've got a friend at the DA's office who'd love to hear about your little enterprise." Vincent's smile faded. He leaned forward, his voice low. "You're bluffing." Keanu didn't blink. "Try me." For a moment, the bar seemed to hold its breath. The bodyguard waited for a signal, but Vincent's confidence was cracking. Keanu's calm was unnerving, his certainty absolute. Finally, Vincent leaned back, his expression sour. "You're making a mistake," he said, but the fight was gone from his voice. "No," Keanu said. "You did." He turned and walked out, the bar's noise resuming as the door swung shut behind him. Vincent wouldn't shut down immediately, but the seed was planted. Keanu would make a call to his contact at the DA's office, ensuring the authorities followed through. The hotel would be cleaned up, and guests like Elliot would be safe. Back at the hotel, Keanu returned to his room, the adrenaline fading. He stood by the window, looking out at the city's skyline. He didn't seek out trouble, but he never walked away from it either. The world was full of shadows, but sometimes all it took was one person to shine a light. The next morning, Elliot found a note slipped under his door, written in a neat, unassuming hand. "Stay kind. Stay strong. K." He smiled, tucking it into his wallet. The city glittered outside, a world of light and shadow, and somewhere, Keanu was already on the road again, chasing peace, ready for whatever came next.